Do you often put on a brave face and push through a challenging task like I used to? I learned my lesson the hard way. Um, got my notes. Okay. Um, Putting on a brave face and pushing through can cause lots of pain, in the long run. Why do that to yourself? We deserve better. Um, you know this. I know this. We are not fine. We may tell everybody, we're fine. I can do it. I can do it. And you push through, put on that brave face, and it just doesn't work. Okay. Um, tell you what I did. Last year for me was awful. Um, Appendix removal in January, and then both cataracts. It, those three within 6 weeks. Um, and then a gallbladder in November. Um, but I worked. My work was very limited because, I kept trying to put on that brave face and, through it. But I worked 5 hours on Thursday and every other weekend for 3 hours a day. Um, Trying to work and maintain a household was challenging. And it used to kick my butt. Um, in the week that I just worked the Thursday, it was okay. That client just allowed me, to stand up and pace when I needed to. And yeah, I even left her apartment and took breaks and walked around because it made my stomach feel better. I suffered big time with that gallbladder. Stomach aches nonstop. It sucked. Okay. But on the other weeks when client B was added, um, she lived in a house. And most of the time for that 3 hours, I would sit in the chair. Um, she was a few feet from me using her computer. Once in a while, she'd talk to me, but not very often. She was focused on that computer, doing her surveys, darn pennies. Um, but she would ask me some of the trivia questions sometimes, or share a story from her life. But sitting a lot. She didn't want me doing work and nothing. It was awful. Once in a while, I could get her, to put lotion on her legs, or listen for her when she was in the shower or vacuum. But most of the time, I sat on my butt in that chair. But it would get uncomfortable just sitting. And I told her I have to walk. She didn't want me going outside her house, or pacing in front of her. She said it made her nervous. So I would walk about 10 feet away from her to her kitchen. She could still see me because it's kind of like my kitchen. Um, and I would just stand there at the sink and just kind of rock back and forth, because it made me feel better. But she didn't like it. Um, but she dealt with it because she knew that it made me feel a little bit better. Um, but, after working that Thursday in the house trying to get things caught up, and did up so I could work the weekends because I knew they'd be exhausting, cooking meals and stuff extra. Um, and then working the weekends, those 4 days were hell. Um, I'd crash on Mondays, I tried to do, at least the floors here, sweeping, mopping all the way through and vacuuming, um, and my dishes and cooking, it was just too much. I slept a lot Monday and Tuesday and just felt like crap, I was overdoing it. But disability does not pay too much. Um, Finally hit four figures last year, barely, $1 over. Um, but I still had to work for the bills. Um, but what my paycheck ended up being is paying a bill and having cab fare for the next week to get back and forth to work. But, I would try to stick to it because I felt I needed to. And what did it end up doing for me? Hmm, man, after after that surgery in November, I crashed. I couldn't get healed good enough to return to work. It affected the bills. Um, it got hard to talk again and eat and do all that stuff. And this my energy has been extremely low. Um, I sleep a lot and rest, get my beat up, but it sucks. I kept putting on the brave base and pushing through because I felt I needed to, and it cost me big time in the end. Um, by mid-December, I was medically retired, and my strength and energy is still not up, so I qualified for a home health aide to come in here and help me to, do the things that I can't do. Um, it sucks. It sucks, really, from going from a caregiver. Um, and I've been working in that field for 10 years. The last 12 was just at this one company. And, it sucks to go from being the caregiver to someone who needs a caregiver. It's a real humbling experience, let me tell you. Okay. Um, Naps, I take lots of naps. I'm still exhausted. It really sucks. Okay. I feel it's very important for us to not to lie to ourselves. Stop putting on that brave face because it's just going to kick you in the butt. At some point it will. Do what you can. Ask for help with the rest. There is no shame in that. I know it's hard to give up your independence, but by asking for help, you actually allow yourself to be more restful for the times that you're needed, you know, and the times that you want to be present in things. So go ahead, ask for help when you need it. Quit putting on that brave face. Um, if you have real health struggles like I do, you need to give yourself grace. There's no two ways about it. Um, how do you handle this? Putting on the brave face and just trying to muddle through. How's it going for you, really? If you need help, you know, talking it through and whatever, sharing your experience, and go ahead, put it below. All right, y'all have a good day. Bye bye.